Hi everybody, this is Mike. In this video we're going to practice listening comprehension skills. Hola a todos, en este video vamos a practicar nuestras habilidades de comprensión de escucha. En este video vamos con la segunda parte de nuestra charla con mi amigo Camilo. Ya saben, es un proceso muy interesante, lo he explicado en el primer video. Enfoquémonos en hablar, enfoquémonos en cómo escuchamos. Recuerden que nosotros, ni Camilo ni yo somos hablantes nativos, pero es un proceso importante e interesante para aprovechar. Así que los dejo con la segunda parte de nuestra conversación.
Yes, yes, exactly. And for me, the memories I have from the university are from all kind. No, I remember so well that when we were at first semester that we had to go to the English class. And we had to go to a very small building which is called the Galpón.
El
You
Galpón, yeah,
remember?
I remember the
Yeah.
Galpón. In fact, there was a time in which I was living in the building next to that, and even
Okay.
yeah, I remember looking from the building and say, "Hey, did the teacher arrive? No, not
All
yet.
right.
Okay, I'll be there. I'll be there later." And that was so funny. That was so funny. Yeah,
Exactly. But
El
I
Galpón,
remember that
right? El Galpón.
it was between the tiles, no, between the tiles on the floor, there were some plants growing, and then as that was a pure concrete building, then I remember so well that they were writing, "Don't step on the flowers,
Oh, okay. That's
don't step on the
yeah,
garden."
yeah. That's only that's those are things you only see here. Pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
quite funny.
definitely.
You
But
were part of the IEEE branch, right?
yeah, correct. With Celis, what is his name?
It was
With the
David
Yeah.
Celis.
David Celis. Yeah, exactly.
It was such an elite. I remember it
Yeah,
was like, wow, those are the top dogs here. Man, that's so interesting. And it's funny because uh I don't I would like some maybe sometime to go back through the memories and realize the reason why I behaved in such a way, because I was kind of reluctant to do the same things that I did when I was in school back in college. But
hmm
anyhow, I remember walking by the IEEE and
hmm hmm
watching you guys studying, doing a lot of things, and thinking this is so cool, but oh, how can I get involved in this kind of things? But I never took that step. It was so I don't know. I don't know. Even now, 30 something years later, I wonder why I was such a stupid guy, and I missed that
but
opportunity.
but Miguel, I don't have that memory of you. So I always thought about you like someone pretty unique. Because there were not so many guys with long hair. You know that
Yeah, I remember.
through the university, I let my hair to grow, right?
Yep.
And I cut it back when I started working. But I don't recall that there were so many guys who, when they started the university, they have long hair, and you were one of those. And
Yeah,
it was not
maybe
that common,
there were three of us maybe.
Yeah, exactly. It
I
was
remember.
Walter.
Do you remember? They were called. We called them in a funny way, joking, kidding. We called them Integral y de X. Do you remember those guys? Do you remember those guys?
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember their names. Um, Fabio,
Fabio,
yeah. It was so
Fabio,
freaking
and
funny.
Julio.
Fabio,
The
Julio,
two
yeah. Those and Fabio.
Integral and
Of course,
the
yeah. They were always together. They were like best friends.
yes.
Yeah.
And they are still good
Yeah.
friends.
I think maybe Fabio and I don't know, maybe Fabio. That was it. And there was this group of musicians
Mhm.
with oh, what was his name? I remember I always told him El Señor Niño. Henry
Henry.
Niño,
Mhm.
and Luis Enrique Olejua
Mhm.
and Luis Alfonso Gutierrez.
Okay.
With I currently nowadays I have a group in WhatsApp for musicians, and I'm constantly speaking with Olejua and Luis Alfonso. They were there
Okay.
also too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was interesting, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah. So then that was like such a nice palette, no, of
Sure.
people from all around the country, from different backgrounds. It was always funny, you know. It was always really entertaining just to go to the university. I remember so well that, and we were living there, you know. I
Pretty
remember
much,
I
yeah.
was
It was the
always
whole
leaving.
day. It was the whole
Really,
day.
I was
Yeah.
always leaving home at 6, quarter past 6, and I was back at 8, 9 p.m. because it was the whole day there,
Yep.
and we were. Oh, there was always something to do, even though it was again a public university, not such a great campus, etc. But we were always entertained with something, even if it was studying, you know. But there was always something going on. You could go to the cafeteria, you could go to the billiards.
Of course, the billiards around there. It was crazy because back then there were no laws avoiding that, right?
Correct,
A
correct.
lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
we remember they called vamos al hueco,
Yeah, la oficina.
la
There was
oficina, la
the
oficina,
office. We
la
go to the
oficina.
office.
It was like entertaining and education. So
Correct,
how can you miss
correct.
it? So it was so crazy. Are you still in touch with guys from the past from back then?
Yeah, well, obviously with Ricardo, I try to be in touch with some of the guys there, and interestingly enough, then there are some guys that I'm in touch with from the secondary school
Oh, really?
still, and they
Mm.
went. Some of them went after us, after me, at the university, the same university, the same career. Some of them went before me, but yeah, I try to maintain some contacts with people from the university. I think the secondary and university for me were the most precious moments in my life. You know, I think
They actually
obviously
are.
besides having children, but it's something that you are experiencing so many different things every single day. That to me was like marvelous. You know.
Yeah, I remember back those days. How about the teachers? Did you have any
Yeah.
weird experience with a teacher or something like that?
At the university, not, but I remember that we had like also very good teachers. You know, I remember that the Vitautas, obviously
That was
everyone remembers
such a genius
him.
guy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We have
It's funny
the
because
power.
I used to back then I used to draw cartoons of the teachers, and that was my
Yeah, yeah.
favorite one.
Remember.
That was my favorite one to draw without us. It was so easy to draw. It was so easy. The guy was so freaking smart. Yeah,
Yes,
that guy was
yes,
so
definitely.
freaking smart. Do you
And
remember? Do you remember Superboy?
no, who
There
was
was a
that?
guy who was called Superboy, and he was a teacher. I think it was some kind of statistics, mathematics. I don't know.
Okay.
Right now I can't remember, but I remember
Uh-huh.
that he used to ask one of the students at every class to come in front of the others and do a presentation. Well, do a presentation of what we learned in the last class, in the past class. Do you remember
Okay,
that?
okay.
Do you remember that? And
I
I
think so.
remember
Yeah.
I always studied. I always studied. But that
For
day
whatever reason.
when he asked me, I didn't have a clue. I don't remember why, but I hadn't studied back then. And I remember when I was in school. I remember reading the newspaper because I was kind of the nerd kid. I never had like a regular the regular childhood. I
Mhm.
was always reading at home and things like that. And I remember back then reading an article by Andrés Samper.
Mhm.
It was called Postre de Notas. I don't know
Yeah,
if you remember that. Daniel
Daniel
Samper.
Samper.
Daniel Samper.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he wrote one of his articles. He wrote something about being the word in Spanish is abstruso. I don't know what's the word in English for that. Being abstruso.
I know.
How to be,
Mhm, mhm.
and the meaning of that was you could learn how to speak hours during hours for hours about something, even though you're not speaking about anything. It's like Cantinflas,
Cantinflas,
pretty
no?
much. And I remember I said I have to do this, and I started. I started. I think I spoke for maybe 20 minutes. I'm not kidding you. Around 15 20 minutes, and then Superboy stopped me and said, I don't know. I have this weird feeling. Maybe you're pulling my leg, but okay, go ahead and you get a good grade. I was like, phew. I was so funny, so funny. I remember also those weeks with power electronics
Yes, of course, with Peña.
at the lab, working our asses off. That was so interesting too. That back then I learned that you could stay awake for hours by drinking coffee and Coca-Cola.
Yeah, and indeed, because we had to stay overnight at the
Of course.
university, no, to get the equipment, because that was the only way you could use the equipment at
Yep,
night.
yep.
Hmm? So
When
then,
when you mentioned that we used to live there, that was the first memory that came to my mind. Being there,
yeah,
staying there overnight. That was so funny. That was so funny.
yes, yes, yes,
What
yes.
other teachers or maybe
Yeah, I
students do you?
remember. I remember Gracia.
Oh, of course.
He's also, because then there were some
I
exactly.
remember. I heard. I don't know if it was if it was one of those how do you call this urban legends. I don't know if it
Uh-huh.
was an urban legend, but I remember hearing about his car being set on fire by one student.
Really?
Because somebody was angry. I don't know, and I heard one student once set his car on fire
Yeah.
because
But
he was kind of a yeah, he was a
he
good
was
teacher.
special. He
He was
was
a good,
special.
but yeah, he was special.
Yeah.
He was special. He was special.
Yeah.
Do you have any funny experiences with Gracia, Fabio Gracia?
No, with Gracia, I remember so well that the textbooks, no, they were all in English. You remember that
Yep,
all the
yep,
books for electronics with Vitautas for
yep,
Gracia was circuits, no. We
yep,
were
yep.
learning the circuits with him,
Circuits. Uh-huh.
circuits two even. I remember
Yeah,
so well.
yeah, yeah. Whoa.
And
Gives me the chills. Wow.
and then, but I with him I don't recall any things, no. But with Peña, with the guy from Power Electronics, right, it was always such a being so nervous, right, when he was, because it was always happening, but that when he was coming along to take a look to your circuit, right,
Okay.
then when you really have
Nothing
to show
worked.
him, okay,
Nothing worked.
exactly,
Nothing
nothing
worked.
work,
It was
or
like,
something
what the
explodes,
f-
or something explodes.
he had this funny
Aura, aura.
yeah, it was like so freaking funny. Yeah, I remember that. And it was
Yeah,
like,
it was like,
please work. Wow.
it's like he was like carrying on Murphy, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
If something can go wrong, it will
Murphy
go
laws.
wrong.
Yeah, he was. It was so freaking funny. Yeah. Perfecto, espero que esto haya sido de utilidad para ustedes, que le hayan sacado provecho. Si necesitan repetir el material, repítanlo cuantas veces necesiten para revisar, practicar, mirar cositas. Si tienen dudas, me dejan un mensaje y yo estaré respondiendo en el menor tiempo posible. Si les ha gustado este video, recuerden darle like, compartir con sus amigos y si aún no lo han hecho, suscríbanse al canal, denle click a la campanita y de esa manera van a estar al día con los contenidos que estoy publicando constantemente. También les va a permitir poder participar en el chat en vivo, en las clases en vivo. Cada transmisión que haya en vivo solamente está disponible el chat para los suscriptores. Y de paso nos siguen apoyando con el crecimiento del canal. También recuerden que hay un sistema de membresías. De paso, agradezco y saludo a las personas que ya están apoyándonos como miembros. Un abrazo muy especial y muchas gracias por ese apoyo. Y si quieren ustedes, si no lo han hecho, ustedes quieren participar, hay 3 niveles diferentes de membresías, lo cual les va a dar acceso a algunas cositas adicionales que yo pongo exclusivamente para ustedes en agradecimiento por ese apoyo. Así que muchas gracias por el apoyo que están mostrando. También a quienes dan like, eso es una manera también de apoyarnos, volviéndose suscriptores. Todo esto ayuda y da ánimo para seguir trayendo contenidos de calidad a ustedes. Así que recuerden que yo disfruto mucho este proceso, es algo que disfruto mucho, compartir todas estas cosas. Recuerden que hay un canal que he creado para enseñar español angloparlante, se llama Spanish with Mike. Todos los videos que pongo ahí son en inglés, así que pueden ir también, suscribirse y mirar esos videos para practicar sus habilidades de escucha y sigan aprendiendo, sigan estudiando. La perseverancia, la constancia, la dedicación y la disciplina son las claves para aprender cualquier cosa, en este caso un segundo idioma. Así que espero verlos pronto en otro video y nos vemos, cuídense, sigan estudiando, bye bye.